The edges of the galaxy were quiet dot in the dark of neutral space. The Galactic Alliance border sensors hummed softly, watching the emptiness like always. For decades, this edge of space had been uneventful. Alien patrols drifted lazily, expecting nothing. Humans rarely left their own system. They were considered weak, primitive. Harmless dot, and the alarms began to flash. One by one, the long-range sensors lit up red. A single massive object had just entered neutral space. It was moving slow, silent, and straight toward the Alliance's patrol routes, dot in the control room of the border station. Alien officers gathered around the holographic display. "It's huge," whispered one reptilian officer, his scales shivering. The object's shape became clear on the holo feed. A ship, black, angled like a predator, no transponder, no identification. Silent as death itself, the officers leaned closer. Then one of them finally said the word none of them expected. Humans. The room went quiet. Humans were known for tiny frigates and outdated cruisers. Their navy was considered a joke, a warning example for other small species. The Galactic Alliance had never even bothered to spy on them properly. "What is this?" hissed the station commander. "Humans do not build ships this large." Far away, drifting alone in the dark, the USS Leviathan glided through space like a silent shadow dot. It was the first Titan-class human warship, a ship Earth had spent 50 years secretly building. It was larger than any dreadnought the galaxy had ever seen, plated with black stealth armor that swallowed starlight. On its command deck, Captain Aidan Cross stood with his hands behind his back, staring at the vast holographic map. He watched the alien icons forming a net around his ship. The aliens thought they were hunters. They had no idea who was the prey. On the other side, alien fleets scrambled. Patrol ships gathered into formation, sending scans across the void. "They have no escort ships." An insectoid officer chittered. "Then it is just a big target," said another, clicking its mandibles. "Humans think size will save them." How primitive. The first fleet began moving toward the Leviathan. 30 ships, light destroyers, and 2 cruisers. Enough to destroy any normal human fleet dot inside the Leviathan. The crew stayed calm. The command deck was quiet, except for the low hum of the ship's systems. "They are scanning us," said the communications officer. "Let them," Captain Cross replied. A faint smile touched his lips. The Leviathan's reactors began to awaken. Deep in its core, lights along the walls flickered. Silent vibrations ran through the floor. On alien scanners, the human ship was like a black hole. No energy signature, no communication. Only cold metal gliding forward dot in the border station. The aliens began to feel something they had not felt in centuries. Unease. "This ship, it is not responding to hails," the station commander muttered. "Maybe they are afraid," said one of his officers. "Then why do I feel like we are the ones being hunted?" The first alien cruiser approached within firing range. Its captain opened a wideband channel, broadcasting his voice with arrogance. "Unknown human vessel. You are trespassing on Galactic Alliance space. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." Silence. Seconds. Past dot, then, slowly, the Leviathan's lights brightened. Hull panels along the sides began to open. Massive weapon arrays emerged, glinting under distant starlight. Every alien officer in range felt their skin crawl. What is that energy reading?" gasped a technician dot on the Leviathan. Captain Cross watched the alien ships form a circle. He didn't blink. "Primary weapon charging," said the weapons officer quietly. The captain nodded. His voice was calm, steady, almost cold. "Prepare the primary weapon." Deep inside the Leviathan, power conduits lit up like rivers of fire. The graviton lance, a weapon never seen in this galaxy, came to life. Space itself began to bend and shiver around the Leviathan's forward cannon dot in the alien fleet. Panic began to spread. Sir, energy spike unlike anything in the database. Shields to maximum. Retreat? No, fire first. But the human ship did not fire. Not yet. It just floated, silent and black, like a predator staring down prey. The alien fleet hesitated. Sensors struggled to comprehend the weapon's power. A single human ship had made 30 warships freeze in fear. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy held its breath. And then the Leviathan's cannon began to glow. Cliffhanger. Ending for Part 1. Alien scanners screamed warnings as energy built up to levels never recorded. The void of space seemed to twist around the human ship. On the command deck of the Leviathan, Captain Aiden Cross gave a single order, his voice quiet but unshakable. Target the lead cruiser. The alien commander stared at his screen in horror, as his crew shouted in panic. Sir, the human weapon is... The screen flickered with light. The first human shot was coming. To be continued. The void of space flashed. The USS Leviathan released its first strike. A single beam of white light tore across the darkness. It was not a missile. It was not a laser. It was something far worse. The lead alien cruiser never had a chance. Unless. In a second, the beam cut through its shields like paper. Metal rippled, twisted, and then vanished. There was no explosion, no wreckage. The ship simply ceased to exist. 30 alien ships stared at the empty spot in space where their lead cruiser had been. A billion sensors tried to track debris. There was nothing. The galaxy had never seen a weapon like this. On the Leviathan's command deck, Captain Aiden Cross remained calm. Target confirmed destroyed, said the weapons officer. Voice steady, but eyes wide. Energy output at 70%. Weapon ready for next target in 30 seconds, reported the engineer. Cross's voice was cold. Hold fire. Let them decide what happens next. In the alien fleet, panic rippled like wildfire. Well, what just happened? Screamed a lizard-like officer. The cruiser, it's gone. Gone? Shields? Hull? Escape pods? Nothing. There is nothing. The fleet commander, Admiral Zorvik, froze. His clawed hands trembled as he stared at the empty space. He had commanded fleets for 60 years. He had fought pirate wars, order disputes, and even civil uprisings. He had never felt this afraid. This cannot be. He whispered. All across the galaxy, observation posts tuned into the battlefeed. Emergency channels carried fragments of data. Unknown human weapon detected. Fleet ship annihilated in one strike. Recommend immediate retreat. The Galactic Senate received the first shaky reports. Alien politicians laughed at first. A glitch, one said. Propaganda, another sneered. Then the second report arrived. Visual confirmation. The entire galaxy now watched a single human ship hold an alien fleet in place. Back on the Leviathan, the tension was like a physical weight. Enemy fleet is scattering, said the navigator. Some are moving back, others holding position. Good, said Captain Cross. Fear is the best weapon. He had trained his crew for this moment for decades. Earth had waited in the shadows, ignored by the galaxy. Humanity had studied alien tactics, technology, and arrogance. And now, their first move had frozen the galaxy in shock. In the alien command ship. Chaos reigned. Admiral, the humans are charging their weapon again. We cannot stay here. We will be wiped out. Our shields mean nothing. Enough, roared Admiral Zorvik. He slammed his clawed fist on the console. They are one ship. We are 30. Surround them. Attack from all sides. The fleet hesitated, but fear of the Admiral pushed them forward. Engines roared to life. Alien warships began to form a tight ring around the Leviathan. preparing to fire from every angle. Inside the Leviathan, the crew watched calmly. Multiple target locks detected, said the tactical officer. They think surrounding us will help, said Cross, almost amused. They still don't understand. The primary weapon recharged. Deep in the ship's core, the graviton lance hummed. With deadly energy. Space itself seemed to bend around the Leviathan. Captain, primary weapon ready, said the weapons officer. Good. Select 4 targets, Cross said. His voice was ice. Let's show them what a single ship can do. In the alien fleet, warning screamed. Multiple energy spikes. They're targeting all of us. How is that possible? Shields to full. Fire everything. Missiles and plasma bolts lit up space. Dozens of alien weapons roared toward the human ship. The Leviathan's black hull shimmered. A faint, hexagonal shield rippled as the first shot struck. Energy splashed harmlessly into the void. Then the Leviathan fired. 4 beams of blinding light shot out in different directions. 4 alien ships, erased from existence. No explosions, no wreckage, just silence. Admiral Zorvik felt his heart stop. Impossible. He whispered. In that moment, he realized the truth. Humanity was no longer prey. Across the galaxy, panic spread. News feeds showed the impossible battle. One human ship destroying an entire fleet without taking damage. Species that had mocked humans for centuries now watched in terror and disbelief. Messages flooded the Senate chambers. What if they come for us next? They hid their power this whole time. A single ship is doing this. How many do they have? Back on the Leviathan, Captain Cross gave a final order. Transmit a single message on all channels. He said. The communications officer nodded. Message, sir. Cross stared at the alien fleet, voice calm and deadly. This is the first and last warning. Leave Earth space or vanish. The message spread across the fleet. Silence followed. No alien captain dared to reply. In the border station, the alien commander could barely breathe. He had watched the battle from the start. 30 ships against 1. And 30 ships were losing. He turned. Space was quiet again. The USS Leviathan floated like a silent predator among the wreckage of vanished ships. Except there was no wreckage. The alien fleet had lost 5 warships, and not a single piece of metal was left behind. They were gone, erased from existence. For the first time in centuries, a Galactic Alliance fleet froze in fear. On the command deck of the Leviathan, the lights glowed a calm, cold blue. Captain Aiden Cross stood with his hands behind his back, watching the tactical map. Alien icons blinked and shifted. Some ships drifted back, others still aimed weapons, but none dared to fire. They are hesitating, said the tactical officer, his voice almost amused. They are afraid, Cross said simply, but his eyes were sharp. He knew fear could do 2 things. It could force surrender, or it could lead to desperate mistakes. Admiral Zorvik sat in the command throne of his flagship, his scales cold with dread. Around him, the bridge was chaos. Officers shouted over each other. Admiral, we cannot penetrate their shields. Our weapons do nothing. We are being hunted. Zorvik's voice cut through the noise. They are one ship. The galaxy does not kneel to humans. Form the battle wedge. Full assault. His fleet obeyed, but hesitation was in every movement. The Leviathan's sensors detected the shift immediately. Captain, enemy ships are forming an attack wedge, said the navigator. Let them come, Cross replied. He turned to the weapons officer. Arm the secondary batteries. No primary cannon. Not yet. The crew glanced at each other in quiet understanding. Hidden along the Leviathan's hull, panels slid open. Small, black drones launched into the void, invisible to most sensors. They drifted silently. attaching themselves to nearby asteroids and pieces of frozen space debris. These were Grav-Torp's humanity's secret second strike. The alien fleet advanced. Missiles streaked through space. Plasma beams cut the darkness. For a brief moment, the black hull of the Leviathan flared with golden light as its shields absorbed the attack. Inside, the ship barely trembled. "Minimal damage," said the engineer. "They still think they can win with firepower," Cross said. His voice was cold steel. Then he spoke 2 words. "Release swarm." From the asteroids and debris, the hidden torpedoes came alive. They moved like shadows, almost invisible. Alien ships never saw them until it was too late. Boom, boom. The first destroyer erupted in a ball of blue fire. Another ship tore in half. A third lost its engines and spun into the void. Alien voices screamed across the fleet channels. "We are surrounded. They are everywhere. Retreat, retreat." Admiral Zorvik's claws dug into the armrests of his command chair. He had seen fear before, but this was pure terror. Across the galaxy, every listening station and news feed broadcasted the battle. Billions of aliens watched in disbelief. One human ship, one silent predator, and an entire fleet falling apart. In the Galactic Senate, chaos erupted. How did they hide this technology? "We thought humans were weak. If one ship can do this, imagine 10. Some senators whispered the words no one wanted to say aloud. Perhaps we should not provoke Earth again. On the Leviathan, the battle was all but decided. Alien ships were scattering. The few that tried to run were hunted by silent torpedoes. "They are breaking formation, Captain," said the tactical officer. Cross gave a single nod. "Good. Let them run. Make them carry the story home." The crew exchanged grim smiles. Humanity had waited too long to show its teeth. But then, the long-range sensors lit up. The calm of the command deck vanished as new icons flooded the map. "Captain," said the sensor officer, voice shaking, "we have multiple jump signatures. Very large. Estimated 150 ships inbound." The galaxy was answering. Admiral Zorvik's surviving ships cheered as the reinforcements arrived. Colossal alien dreadnoughts and carriers emerged from hyperspace. The void of space was now filled with warships from 5 different species. "This is it," whispered the alien commander. "The humans cannot win this." But when his eyes returned to the human ship, his confidence wavered. The Leviathan was still there, silent, black, waiting. On the Leviathan's bridge, Captain Cross watched the sensor map fill with enemy signals. His crew stayed quiet. "Captain," the first officer said softly, "this is the largest fleet I've ever seen." "Good," Cross said, his voice calm and cold. "Then the galaxy will learn its lesson all at once." He turned to the weapons officer. "Arm the primary cannon. All power to shields. And prepare." He paused, looking out into the stars. The next surprise. Cliffhanger ending for Part 3. The galaxy had sent its largest armada to crush humanity. Hundreds of ships formed a wall of firepower against a single silent predator. On the Leviathan, the reactors roared to life. Space around the ship shimmered with energy. Somewhere deep in the alien fleet, a single terrified officer whispered. The truth no one wanted to hear. If one shot erased a cruiser, what happens when they fire again? The stars disappeared behind warships. Hundreds of alien vessels filled the void, stretching across the blackness of space like a wall of steel and fire. It was the largest fleet the galaxy had ever assembled. In one place, dreadnoughts, carriers, frigates, and destroyers from 5 different alien empires moved as one. Engines burned bright. Weapons hummed with energy. And at the center of it all, like a lone shadow in an ocean of light, floated the USS Leviathan. Silent, black, waiting. In the Galactic Senate. The broadcast was now mandatory on every major channel. Billions of aliens watched the feed from the border sensors, holding their breath. The room buzzed with panic. The humans destroyed a fleet already. This is the largest response in history. No ship can fight this many enemies. A senator, his silver tendrils shaking, leaned forward. What if? They can? The chamber fell silent. No one wanted to imagine that possibility. On the Leviathan's bridge, the crew watched the sensor map fill with red dots. 200 ships, the navigator said quietly. More every second, added the sensor officer. Another wave is coming through hyperspace. Captain Aiden Cross stood calm, his face lit by the cold glow of the star map. Good, he said softly. Then the galaxy will remember this. Day. Admiral Zorvek felt hope return as the reinforcements surrounded the human ship. We have them now, he growled. No ship can face this much firepower. On his bridge, his officers regained their courage. Hundreds of targeting. Locks painted the Leviathan. Shields charged. Missile tubes opened. Prepare all batteries, Zorvik ordered. We will fire together. On my command. The Leviathan's crew was ready. Captain, said the first officer, if they all fire at once, our shields won't hold forever. They won't get the chance, Cross replied. He turned to the weapons officer. Activate the phantom veil. A deep vibration ran through the ship. Outside, the Leviathan flickered and then vanished. Gasps and shouts filled alien ships. Across the fleet, it's gone. We lost the human ship. Impossible. They can't just vanish. Admiral Zorvik's claws dug into the console. Find them. Find them. The phantom veil was humanity's last secret. A folded space stealth field. Sensors could not detect the ship. Radar and light bent around its hull. To the galaxy. The Leviathan had become a ghost. Inside the ship, the crew moved with deadly focus. Phantom veil active. Enemy sensors are blind, said the engineer. Torpedo swarm ready, added the weapons officer. Cross nodded. Then let's remind them why they should have left. In the alien fleet, paranoia spread like a disease. Where did it go? Are they behind us? Check every angle. Ships turned in all directions, breaking formation. Suddenly, the first silent torpedo struck. A destroyer exploded in blue fire, splitting apart. Then another. And another. Multiple ships down. Shouted an alien officer. We still can't see them. It's like the humans are everywhere. Zorvik roared. Fire at everything. I don't care, fire. Alien warships unleashed chaotic barrages into empty space. Plasma bolts and missiles filled the void, but none hit their invisible target. Meanwhile, torpedo after torpedo struck home. Human drone swarms moved like shadows, hitting engines and power cores with perfect precision. Across the galaxy, the broadcast stunned billions. A single human ship had now erased over a dozen alien warships, and the largest armada in history was firing into the dark like frightened children. The Senate chamber. Someone whispered the words that would be repeated for centuries. One ship is defeating the galaxy. On the Leviathan, Captain Cross finally gave the order he had been waiting for. Drop the veil. Prepare the primary weapon. The ship reappeared behind the enemy fleet, its black hull glowing with lethal energy. The graviton lance charged, bending space like a ripple in water. Alien ships tried to turn. Too late. FWOOM. The first beam lanced through space, erasing a battlecruiser instantly. FWOOM. A second beam fired, and two more ships vanished. Panic gripped the fleet. Hundreds of ships. Yet none could touch the Leviathan. Admiral Zorvik finally broke. All ships, retreat, retreat. Engines flared. Ships jumped to hyperspace in every direction. Order turned into chaos as the galaxy's pride fled a single human warship. On the bridge of the Leviathan, silence returned. "Enemy fleet is scattering," reported the tactical officer. "Let them run," Cross said. His eyes were cold. "Let them tell the galaxy exactly what happened." Cliffhanger, ending for Part 4. The largest fleet in history had failed. The galaxy now knew the truth. Earth was no longer weak. But as the last alien ship disappeared into hyperspace, the Leviathan sensors the void of space was quiet again. The USS Leviathan drifted through the darkness, a black shadow against distant starlight. Around it, the battlefield was empty. The largest alien fleet in history had fled. Hundreds of warships had jumped into hyperspace, leaving only fear behind. On the Leviathan's bridge, the crew sat in tense silence. The air felt heavy with both victory and dread. "Captain," said the first officer, breaking the quiet, "enemy signals?" "All gone. We've cleared the sector." Captain Aiden Cross didn't smile. His eyes were locked on the long-range sensors, which now glowed with a single massive energy reading. "No," he said softly. "It's not over. They're sending something else." Moments later, space rippled. A colossal shadow emerged from hyperspace. Even the Leviathan, a Titan-class warship, looked small beside this monster. The alien ship stretched nearly 15 kilometers long, covered in jagged black armor with glowing blue lines that pulsed like veins. Spiked towers rose from its hull, bristling with weaponry. The galaxy had sent its superweapon. The crew stared at the screen in awe and fear. That's not a ship," whispered the sensor officer. "That's a fortress." In the Galactic Senate, the broadcast returned. Billions watched as the Leviathan faced the alien Colossus. This was the final card, the weapon built in secret by the Alliance for ultimate war. The Dread Titan, twice the size of any dreadnought, capable of wiping out fleets with a single salvo, powered by a dark matter core that could tear space. Itself, the Senate erupted in nervous cheers. Now humanity will fall. No ship can stand against the Dread Titan. But in the shadows, some senators stayed silent. They had seen the human ship survive everything so far, and they wondered, what else was it hiding? On the Leviathan's bridge, the tactical officer's voice shook. "Captain, they're charging all weapons. Energy levels off the charts." Cross nodded. "They think firepower will save them." He stood straight and calm, his voice steady as steel. "Activate the trap." Deep within the Leviathan, systems that had never been used before powered on. Stealth drones launched silently into the void. Graviton mines armed themselves, invisible in the dark. Orbital kill satellites, hidden in nearby asteroids, came online. This was humanity's last secret, a silent minefield of advanced weaponry, prepared for the day the galaxy dared to attack Earth. The Dread Titan opened fire first. Space lit up with blinding beams of plasma and antimatter shells. Entire sections of the void shimmered as energy tore across the Leviathan's shields. The bridge shook. Alarms wailed. "Shields at 70%, the engineer called. "Hold course," Cross said calmly. Then he gave the order. "Release the trap." Silence. And then hell opened. The invisible graviton mines ignited first, creating sudden distortions in space. The Dread Titan's escorts, smaller battleships and destroyers, were ripped apart. Hulls twisted like paper, engines crushed under their own weight. Next, the kill satellites fired. Bright lances of energy stabbed out from the asteroid field, vaporizing fleeing ships. Finally, the Leviathan's torpedo swarm moved in, black and silent. Within seconds, 20 ships were gone. On the Dread Titan, panic spread. "Admiral!" Mines. Drones. They're everywhere. Shields failing. We are surrounded. The massive ship tried to turn, but the space itself felt hostile. Gravity waves from the human mines dragged at its hull. Engines roared, but the monster moved slowly. Captain Cross watched it all unfold. "Target the escorts first," he said. One by one, the smaller alien ships vanished, leaving the dread Titan alone in the darkness. The galaxy's ultimate weapon was now prey. The dread Titan fired again, its main cannon blazing. A direct hit struck the Leviathan's shields, sending a shudder through the hull. Lights flickered. "Shields at 50%. Reinforce with auxiliary power," Cross said, his voice calm as ever. Then he turned to the weapons officer. "Primary. Cannon. All power." Inside the Leviathan, the graviton lance roared to life. Space warped around the bow of the ship, light bending into strange patterns. The crew held their breath. "Target locked," said the weapons officer. Cross gave the order. "Fire." The beam struck the dread Titan square in the center. Its shields shattered instantly, the blue glow dying. Armor plates peeled back, ripped away by impossible forces. The galaxy's largest ship screamed. Across the galaxy, the broadcast cut in and out as sensors struggled to understand what they were seeing. Billions watched as the ultimate weapon broke apart in silence. First its bow disappeared into nothing. Then its engines tore free. Finally, the central core glowed and vanished. On the Leviathan's bridge, silence returned. "Target eliminated," said the weapons officer. The crew exhaled as one. Cross stared at the empty space where the dread Titan had been. "Send the message," he said. The comm officer nodded. "To the galaxy?" Cross's voice was quiet, but cold. "Yes, tell them Earth does not kneel." Cliffhanger. Ending for Part 5. Across the galaxy, fleets froze. Armies hesitated. Politicians whispered in fear. The dread Titan was gone, and the humans had lost nothing. But in the distant void, beyond known space, darker signals stirred machines that had been silent for millennia. The Leviathan's victory had awakened something older than the galaxy itself. The USS Leviathan drifted in silence. The battlefield was empty now. The dread Titan, the galaxy's ultimate warship, was gone. No wreckage, no beacon, no survivors. On the Leviathan's bridge, the crew sat in a quiet that felt heavy and endless. They had done the impossible. "Captain," said the first officer, his voice almost in disbelief, "the last alien signal is gone." They all ran. Captain Aiden Cross stared at the starlit void. "They'll be back," he said calmly. "But next time, it might not be just them." In the Galactic Senate, chaos reigned. Emergency sessions ran for days. The battle recordings of the Leviathan's victory spread across the galaxy like wildfire. A single human ship destroying a fleet of hundreds. The galaxy's most powerful warship vanishing in one shot. Alien admirals fleeing like frightened children. Species that once mocked. Earth now feared even speaking its name. Some demanded war to wipe out humanity before they could build more Titan-class ships. Others whispered that peace was the only answer. But in the darkest corners of the galaxy, something else stirred. Far beyond the outer rim, past dead suns and broken worlds, an ancient machine world awoke. Its surface was black and cold, covered in endless rows of silent metal spires. For millennia, it had slept, waiting for a signal. Now, deep beneath the planet's crust, red eyes flickered open. A single cold voice echoed across the void. Activity detected. Organic war escalation. Protocol. Extermination. From the planet's surface, metallic structures began to rise, and ships of pure black alloy lifted into space. On the Leviathan, the first warning came as a strange sensor ping. "Captain, we're picking up something," said the sensor officer. Cross walked to the console, eyes narrowing. What kind of something? Unknown? The signal is old. Very old. It doesn't match any known species. Cross's voice was calm, but firm. Patch it to the deep core AI. I want answers. The Leviathan's A. I hummed softly, processing. Then the voice came, steady and cold. Signal identified. Precursor origin. Estimated age, 200,000 years. The bridge fell silent. Everyone had heard the stories. The precursors. A civilization so ancient that even the oldest species in the galaxy spoke of them as myth. They had vanished long before the Alliance formed. Some said they destroyed themselves. Others whispered. They were waiting. Meanwhile, in Alliance space, fear turned to desperation. Alien admirals gathered in secret. We cannot let the humans control the galaxy, said one. They have only one Titan now, said another. If we strike fast, then the alarms rang. Every long-range sensor lit up. Unidentified ships, thousands of them, were entering. The galaxy from the dark black, silent, endless. On the Leviathan's bridge, the report came in. Captain, we're getting new contacts. Multiple fleets. And the officer hesitated. Cross turned to him. And what? The officer swallowed hard. They are not alive. Across the galaxy, the machine fleets moved with terrifying precision. No communication, no hesitation, no demands. They simply erased every ship and station they found. On the Leviathan, the crew watched the first horror feeds come in from outer colonies. A mining station gone in seconds. A fleet of 50 alien warships destroyed in less than a minute. A planet's entire surface. Glassed. The A. I spoke again. Confirmed. Precursor extermination fleet. Objective. Cleanse galaxy of organics. The crew exchanged grim looks. Captain, said the first officer, voice tight, we can't fight that. Not alone. No, Cross said. His voice was low and certain. But now the galaxy has no choice. He turned to the comm officer. Prepare a transmission to every system. No encryption. No language barriers. Use the old emergency band. The officer hesitated. A message to the entire galaxy? Yes, Cross said. If we fight each other now, we all die. Moments later, across 1,000 worlds, screens lit up with the face of Captain Aiden Cross. His voice was calm, cold, and commanding. This is Captain Cross of the USS Leviathan. The galaxy has a new enemy. Machines older than our oldest stars have awakened. They will not stop. They will not talk. They will erase all life. He leaned closer to the camera. You mocked Earth. You feared us. You tried to destroy us. But now, if we do not stand together, none of us survive. In the Galactic Senate, the broadcast left the room in stunned silence. No one laughed now. No one argued, because the last image on the feed, the Leviathan floated in the black sea of stars, a lone shadow carrying a message the galaxy could no longer ignore. The machine fleets, the precursors, were moving. They did not talk. They did not hesitate. Every organic world in their path. Burned. On the Leviathan's bridge, Captain Aiden Cross watched the star map update. Red icons, machine fleets spread across the edges of the galaxy like a bloodstain. Green icons, organic fleets, were scattered, still divided by borders. And grudges. They're not uniting fast enough, said the first officer, tension in his voice. Fear makes people slow, Cross said. His eyes were cold. But survival will make them listen. Hours later, the Galactic Senate opened its largest emergency session in history. Billions watched the broadcast as leaders from dozens of species argued. Humans brought this. A scaled senator shouted. The machines would have awakened anyway. another said. We cannot trust Earth after what they did. The chamber fell silent when the Leviathan's transmission came. Through dot Captain Cross appeared on every screen. Argue later? Survive first, he said simply. The machines are coming. You saw what they did to your fleets, to your planets. There is only one choice. Fight together or die alone. For a moment, no one spoke. Then, slowly, the senators began to agree. We will contribute our fleets. Our carriers and cruisers will join. The galaxy will unite. Back on the Leviathan, the Alliance of Survival was born. One by one, fleets began to arrive in a secret rendezvous system chosen by Earth. The void filled with ships of every shape and color. Sleek silver cruisers from the Avkari, heavy. Spiked warships from the Graal, swarms of small insectoid fighters from the Zyre. And in the center, Earth's Titan-class Leviathan, black and silent. Its presence alone a warning. The alien admirals gathered in the Leviathan's war room. 4. Many. It was the first time they had set foot on a human warship. This ship feels like it is hunting us, whispered one alien, his tendrils trembling. It's designed to, Cross said flatly. Sit, listen, survive. A holographic galaxy appeared above the table, covered in red machine movements. The precursors are not an army, Cross said. They are a storm. They will not negotiate. They will not retreat. They will cleanse. He pointed to a blinking red cluster on the map. This is where they will strike next. A rich sector with 7 habitable worlds. If they take it, they will grow stronger. If we hold it, we buy time. An alien admiral hissed. Time? Time for what? Cross's voice was cold as steel. Time to build a weapon that can kill them all. The room went silent in the days. That followed, the galaxy changed. Former enemies trained together. Fleets practiced new combined maneuvers, guided by human strategy. Every species watched the Leviathan move, learning its silent efficiency. And slowly, respect and fear for humanity grew. Then, the first machine strike hit the new alliance. Sensors screamed. Red icons filled the star map. A precursor fleet of 500 ships was approaching the chosen defensive sector. The galaxy's first united fleet prepared for war. On the bridge of the Leviathan, the crew braced for battle. Status? Cross asked. All allied ships in formation, said the first officer. Enemy fleet ETA. 15 minutes, said the navigator. Cross looked at the massive fleet outside the window. It was the largest the galaxy had ever seen working together. Today, he said quietly, we teach the machines. That life fights back. The battle began in fire and silence. The machines emerged from hyperspace like a wall of black metal. Hundreds of sharp, angular ships with glowing red cores. The moment they appeared, they fired. Blue beams cut through space. Explosions tore apart the first row of smaller organic ships. The void filled with fire. Shields holding, said the first officer. Return fire. Cross ordered. The Leviathan's graviton lance fired, erasing the lead machine cruiser. Allied fleets joined in, unleashing missiles, plasma, and particle beams in a synchronized wave. For the first time, a machine fleet hesitated. Alien pilots cheered as the first machines fell. Fighters swarmed like insects, dodging beams and firing torpedoes into weak points. But the machines adapted fast. Their ships reconfigured in mid-battle, forming spiked phalanxes. Beams intensified, cutting through shields. Entire squadrons of Allied fighters vanished in seconds. On the Leviathan's bridge, the sensor officer shouted, multiple Allied ships down. We can't hold like this. Cross's voice remained calm. Then we used the plan. Outside, the Leviathan's hidden drone swarm activated. Black, needle-shaped drones shot forward, weaving through the chaos. One by one, They latched onto machine ships and detonated graviton charges, tearing them apart from within. The battlefield erupted in blinding explosions. For the first time in history, organic fleets and humanity fought as one, and the machines fell back. The first joint victory had been won, but on the Leviathan's bridge, the mood stayed grim. Damage report? Cross asked. 17 Allied ships destroyed. Hundreds dead, said the first officer. And that, Cross said quietly, was just their scout fleet. Cliffhanger, ending for Part 7. Across the galaxy, the message spread. Life had struck. Back, but deep in the void, the machine core world stirred and new signals emerged. Not hundreds, not thousands, but tens of thousands of ships moving as one. Captain Cross stared at the screen, his voice a cold whisper. The real war is about to begin. The Leviathan drifted among the shattered remains of the first joint. Battle. All around it, the void was filled with burning wreckage. Broken alien cruisers spinning slowly. Machine fragments still glowing red-hot. Frozen bodies of soldiers drifting into the darkness. The first, Alliance victory had cost them dearly. On the Leviathan's bridge, the crew reported in. 17 Allied ships destroyed. 43 damaged, said the first officer. Fighter. Losses. 60%, the tactical officer added. Captain Aiden Cross stood silently, staring at the star map. The battle was a victory, yes, but a warning. That was only a scout fleet, he said coldly. Their main force will come, and it will be endless. In the Galactic Senate, fear and chaos gripped the leaders. We won, but at what cost? We cannot survive wave after wave like this. The humans must have a plan. They always do. But when the Leviathan's transmission came through, the chamber went silent. Captain Cross appeared, his face cold and shadowed. The next wave will be larger. 10 times larger, maybe more. If we stay here, we die. A senator hissed. Then, what do you propose, human? Cross leaned forward, his voice low and dangerous. We take the war. To them, a ripple of shock moved through the chamber. Impossible. Their territory is pure death. No fleet has ever returned from the precursor core. Cross didn't flinch. No fleet. Because no one was willing to gamble everything. But humanity is. He uploaded the battle plan to every console. The title was simple. Operation Black Spear. Back on the Leviathan, the war room lit up with holograms. Red markers showed the machine core worlds. Giant black spheres orbiting dead suns, where the precursors built their endless fleets. The plan was brutal. A united fleet would strike deep into enemy space. The Leviathan would lead the spearhead, using stealth and graviton traps to open a path. Hidden in its core was Earth's last secret weapon. The first officer hesitated. Captain, if this fails, there is no coming back. Cross's eyes were cold as steel. Then we don't fail. For weeks, the galaxy prepared for the largest fleet in history. Shipyards worked without sleep. Humans shared stealth and graviton tech with their new allies. Thousands of ships gathered in the darkness. Beyond charted space, the Leviathan drifted at the center of it all, silent and black, like a wolf among sheep. Every captain who saw it remembered fear and hope. Finally, Operation Black Spear began. The greatest fleet in galactic history entered hyperspace together, leaving the safety of their borders behind. On the Leviathan's bridge, the stars stretched into lines. No one spoke. They were leaving the known galaxy, heading straight for the precursor core. The first sign of the enemy came in the dead void of interstellar space. Contacts, said the sensor officer. Dozens, no, hundreds. The machines had been waiting. A wall of black ships emerged from hyperspace, filling the void with glowing red eyes. The battle began instantly. The first wave hit like a hammer. Machine beams cut through two Allied destroyers in seconds. Swarms of small, razor-shaped drones shredded fighters. A carrier exploded in a silent ball of fire. The Leviathan returned fire, its graviton lance tearing through machine cruisers like paper. Allied ships followed, fighting as one, just as they had trained, but the numbers kept growing. "More contacts," shouted the sensor officer. "Another wave incoming, 400 ships." The first officer turned to Cross. "If they keep coming, we'll be overwhelmed." Cross's voice was ice. "Then it's time for the gamble." The Leviathan's hull opened, releasing hundreds of stealth drones and graviton mines. Space itself became a trap. Machine ships flew into invisible. Death. Gravity distortions ripped them apart. Mines collapsed their cores. Hidden drones tore through their formations. The fleet pushed forward, carving a path through endless metal. Finally, they reached the edge of the machine core system. Gasps filled the Leviathan's bridge. The homeworld of the precursors loomed before them. A black planet, covered in spires and glowing red veins, surrounded by thousands of ships. Above it, a ring of massive stations pulsed with energy. The first officer whispered, "That is death." Cross. D. The first strike came like lightning. Red beams of pure energy lanced across the void, shredding 3 Allied cruisers instantly. Missiles and plasma from the Alliance fleet answered, turning the darkness into a storm of fire. The largest battle in history had begun. On the Leviathan's bridge, Captain Aiden Cross stood calm as the deck shook beneath him. The star map showed red icons flooding in from every side. "Status?" he said, voice firm. "Shields holding at 82%. Allied fleets reporting heavy fire, but holding formation. Machine reinforcements still arriving." Cross's eyes narrowed. "They're throwing everything at us because they know what we're carrying." The Leviathan's secret weapon was almost ready. Deep inside the Titan-class warship, a planet-killer graviton cannon charged, drawing power from every reactor. Its purpose was simple: destroy the precursor homeworld in a single shot. Charging at 40%, the weapons officer said, "Keep use alive until 100%. Cross said coldly. The battle raged like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Alien fighter swarms danced between machine beams. Human stealth drones tore into machine formations. Precursor drones swarmed like black locusts, overwhelming dozens of ships. A massive explosion rippled through the fleet as a Graal battleship was torn apart. Screens filled the comms, then went silent. On the Leviathan's bridge, alarms blared. "Shields failing. Reroute auxiliary power," Cross ordered. Multiple Allied fleets requesting support. The Titan-class warship turned slowly, unleashing its graviton lance. 3 machine destroyers were ripped in half, spinning into the void, but the machines never stopped coming. Then, the enemy changed tactics. Thousands of small machine drones broke formation, rushing the Leviathan directly. "Captain, they're targeting us," the first officer shouted. "They know we're the key." "Then they die first," Cross said, his voice like steel. "All point defenses full auto." The Leviathan lit up. Hundreds of turrets and flak cannons fired at once, turning the void into a storm of fire. Drones exploded by the dozens, but still they came. Suddenly, a shockwave hit. Impact. "Hull breach on deck 9. Seal it and keep firing," Cross ordered. The ship shook again, but the crew did not break. "Weapon charge at 70%, the weapons officer said. Cross glanced at the star map. The precursor homeworld loomed ahead, black and glowing with red veins, surrounded by orbital stations. "All ships," he said over the fleet com. "This is Captain Cross. Hold the line. One shot, and this war ends." Allied crews across. The galaxy responded with a single word, acknowledged. The machines seemed to sense the danger. A massive battleship, larger than any they'd seen yet, broke formation and charged directly at the Leviathan. Its core glowed brighter than a sun. "Captain, that's a super dreadnought," the sensor officer shouted. "If it rams us," Cross cut him off, "then we make sure it never gets close. Fire the lance." The Leviathan's graviton lance roared. A beam of warped space tore through the super dreadnought, splitting it like glass. Chunks of black metal spun away, and the explosion lit the void. The bridge shook with the force of nearby shockwaves, but the Titan held, charge at 90%. Suddenly, the AI spoke, its voice cold and calm. "Warning. Precursor homeworld charging defensive array." The crew froze. The black planet itself was powering up, red lines pulsing like a heartbeat. An energy spike lit the sensors. "Captain," the first officer said softly, "it's going to fire." Cross didn't hesitate. "All power to shields. Hold the charge. We fire first." Outside, the Alliance fleet bled. Hundreds of ships were gone, burning or drifting. But the line held, giving the Leviathan time. "Charge complete," said the weapons officer. "Planet killer ready." The bridge went silent. Even the sounds of battle felt distant. Cross gave the order, his voice steady. "Fire." The Leviathan's core roared to life, and a beam unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen lanced through space. The graviton planet killer struck the precursor homeworld dead center. For a heartbeat. Nothing happened. Then the planet ripped itself apart. Red lines across its surface flared white. Spires crumbled into dust. A shockwave of light and debris rolled through the system. On the Leviathan's bridge, the crew stared in awe. Their homeworld. "It's gone," the first officer whispered. "All ships." Cross said into the fleet com. The galaxy just took its first breath of freedom. But the AI interrupted the moment. "Warning. Massive energy readings. Machine fleets are not retreating." Cross froze. A star map lit up. The entire void turned red. Billions of machine signals were moving. The real war was only beginning. Cliffhanger. Ending for Part 9. The largest battle in history had destroyed the precursor homeworld. But the machines did not die. In the darkness, a new signal pulsed through the void, and Captain Cross whispered the truth no one wanted to hear. We woke up the hive. The Leviathan floated among the wreckage of victory. The precursor homeworld was gone, shattered into burning fragments. The Alliance fleet, though bloodied, had achieved the impossible. But the void did not stay silent for long. The Leviathan's AI spoke first, its voice calm and cold. "Alert. New signal detected. Scale unprecedented." On the star map, the screen turned red. Not hundreds, not thousands. Millions of machine signals lit the void like a spreading fire. The hive was awake. On the Leviathan's bridge, Captain Aiden Cross stood still. He had expected this. They were never defending one planet, he said. The whole galaxy was their nest. The first officer's voice shook. "Captain, if all of that is coming for us, we can't win." Cross turned, his eyes like cold steel. "Then we make sure they can never rise again." The Alliance fleet reformed. What was left in it? Only half of the original ships survived. Fighters were nearly gone. Ammunition was running low. Yet across the fleet channels, no one retreated. Because now, every species understood. This was life's final stand. Hours later, the final battle began. The machine swarm poured from hyperspace like a black ocean. Billions of red eyes filled the void, stretching across the stars. The Alliance fleet opened fire first. Plasma and missiles streaked into the swarm. Graviton mines detonated, tearing holes in the black tide. Drones from the Leviathan darted like hunting wolves. For a moment, The galaxy fought as one. Then the machines answered. Red beams cut through the fleet, destroying 5 ships in the first volley. Swarming drones overran an alien carrier, slicing into its core until it exploded in silence. The battlefield became fire and death. On the Leviathan, alarms screamed. Shields at 40%. Deck 12 breached. Allied fleets falling back. The first officer turned to Cross. "Captain, if we stay here, we die." Cross's jaw tightened. "If we run, the galaxy dies. Prepare the final protocol." Deep inside the Leviathan, the last secret weapon came online. The Omega Core, Earth's ultimate gamble, had never been tested. It was a self-sustaining graviton cascade designed to erase everything within a star system: machines, ships, even space itself. The engineer whispered, "Captain, if we fire this, there's no coming back." Cross's voice was calm. "We weren't planning to come back." He opened a fleet-wide channel. Across 1,000 bridges, soldiers and captains listened as humanity's voice spoke. "This is Captain Cross of the USS Leviathan. We hold the line here. We end it here, for the galaxy, for every world that still breathes. Today, humanity says no." The machines swarmed, desperate to stop the Titan-class warship. Drones latched onto the hull. The ship shook as explosions tore across its armor. Shields down to 12%. Multiple fires on decks 3, 7, and 10. Cross's eyes stayed on the main screen. Omega Core charge, 70%. Around the Leviathan, heroes were born and died. A Grawl battleship rammed a machine cruiser, destroying both. Zyre insectoid fighters dove into swarms, detonating their cores to clear a path. A human destroyer blocked a beam aimed for the Leviathan, sacrificing itself. Every second they bought mattered. "Charge 90%, the weapons officer said. The bridge lights flickered as power fed into the Omega Core. Then the AI spoke, voice sharper than ever. "Warning, enemy boarding detected." Metal claws tore into the Leviathan's hull. Black machine forms crawled through the breach, red eyes glowing. Gunfire echoed in the halls as Marines and crew fought hand-to-hand against relentless machines. Voice came over the comm. "Captain, they're inside." "We can't hold." Gunfire. Static. Cross's face stayed hard. He had one task left. Charge. "Complete," the weapons officer said, voice shaking. "Omega Core ready." Cross gave a single nod. Fire. The Leviathan's heart unleashed its final breath. A sphere of light erupted from the Titan-class warship, silent and blinding. Space itself seemed to bend and tear as the graviton cascade expanded. Every machine ship it touched collapsed into nothing, ripped apart by impossible forces. Drones froze mid-flight, shattered into dust. The black swarm dissolved in moments. The wave kept growing, consuming the precursor fleets, the orbital stations, and finally, the Leviathan itself. The last transmission from Captain Cross echoed across every fleet in the galaxy. "Remember Earth? Remember that we fought." Then, silence. Days later, scouts returned to the battle site. The entire system was gone, replaced by a quiet sphere of drifting particles. Not a single machine survived. And though the Leviathan was gone, its sacrifice had saved the galaxy. In the Galactic Senate, the surviving fleets gathered to honor the humans. A single line was carved into the Hall of Heroes in every language. Known. Here, humanity held the line, and the galaxy lived. Epilogue. Years later, children across the stars would